Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, I want to share a tribute to a very special holiday. This week, as I was praying about what I wanted to share for Memorial Day, I did what most of us do today when we are searching for information. I Googled it. First, I typed in bread and Memorial Day. Up popped all sorts of patriotic bread recipes. That wasn't exactly what I was looking for. But then an idea came to me. This year, as it often does, Memorial Day falls on the same weekend as the Christian celebration Pentecost. So I Googled Memorial Day and Pentecost. For the past 10 years or so, my husband Brad and I have been studying to learn more about the feast of the Lord mentioned in Leviticus and the relevance they may have on us as believers. It's been amazing to see Jesus in each one of these feasts, and it has been a joy to celebrate them together with our church family. I was delighted when I Googled Memorial Day and Pentecost to find a great article declaring Pentecost as another Memorial Day. In fact, the title of the article was A Forgotten Memorial Day, the Feast of Pentecost. The article is by Eric Jones. Much of what I'll share today comes from this article. For many Christians and churches today, it's just another religious holiday. But this author states beautifully in the first sentence of the article these words: Monday is Memorial Day in the U.S., but there is another Memorial Day this weekend that commemorates one of the most momentous days in all of history. In Leviticus 23, God gave Israel a list of special observances that he declared in verse 2 to be the feasts of the Lord. These were set-apart times of celebrations to be observed by God's people at certain times of the year. God not only expected, but also desired for his people to assemble together on these days to worship and learn about him. The third festival in this list was unique. It is unique. It was an agricultural celebration of the first fruits of the wheat harvest, known in the Old Testament as the Feast of Weeks or Shavuot. Instead of having a fixed date, the date of its observance is based on counting 50 days from the day after the Sabbath during the feast immediately following Passover, known as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Counting 50 days from the day after the Sabbath, which is Sunday during the days of unleavened bread, always brings you to the Sunday that falls 7 weeks later. The New Testament name Pentecost is simply the Greek term for 50th. Though modern churches today do recognize Pentecost, I think for most people the origins are lost, thus a forgotten memorial. Some, unfortunately, make the mistake of thinking that this day was just an Old Testament Jewish observance, but the Bible paints a very different picture. Every year, when those who truly celebrate this day, they gather to remember the events of the very first Pentecost after the death and resurrection of Jesus. They recognize it as one of the most important events of the early church. In fact, it was the beginning of what we call the New Testament church. This special day is featured prominently in the New Testament, and that is no coincidence. Acts chapter 2 tells the story. You may have heard about some of the events of that day: tongues of fire, speaking in different languages, Peter's powerful sermon, baptisms, and more. But have you paid close attention to why all those people were together in the first place? Notice Acts chapter 2, verse 1. When the day of Pentecost had fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. Yes, the first Christians were assembled to observe Pentecost. What happened on this day would change history forever. On that day, God began the church as we know it today, filled with the Holy Spirit, a group of people called out of the world and together to be his own special people. No longer would God work only with the nation of Israel. Through the church, he would now begin calling people of all ethnicities, races, and nationalities into relationship with him. And the church of the New Testament continued to observe the feast of Pentecost after this day. You can read about that in Acts chapter 20, verse 16, or 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 8. Acts chapter 2 records that 3,000 people were baptized and added to the church on that miraculous day. The early church was described as continuing steadfastly in the apostles' doctrine and fellowship in the breaking of bread and prayers. When God's people take a moment to remember what the church was like on that very special feast of Pentecost, they often recommit themselves to try to recapture the same zeal, purity, unity, and power today. The Feast of Pentecost is indeed a memorial that Jesus Christ did build a church just as he said it he would. The church exists today with you and me. So as our traditional Memorial Day approaches and we celebrate with family and friends, may we not forget to honor and remember those who gave their lives for the freedom of our great country. But on the day before, Pentecost Sunday, may we also celebrate the freedom purchased for all people of all nations through the ultimate sacrifice of Jesus Christ and the gift of the Holy Spirit poured out on all who believe. God bless you this day and every day, and God bless America. Until next time, this is Sue Becker with Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.